right, Infernal Blessings. We are back with another video. All right. I said I would do a follow-up from the previous video, though I don't really too much get into the topic that you see in these type of topics, but once in a while I try to change it up. And plus, it's you know what we got going on. But real quick, before we begin, a couple quick announcements. If you are interested in signing up for any of the classes that I do offer, the way to do that is to go to the official Primordial Chaos Patreon page at patreon.com/Baniti, Baniti, patreon.com/Baniti. And tier 3 is the tier you want to join. That'll give you access to the 3 private classes that I do every month on Patreon, in addition to the group ritual that we do together at the end of the month. And keep in mind, again, when you join the Patreon page and sign up for the private classes that I do every month, it doesn't just give you access from the day you join moving forward. It also gives you access to everything in the archive. And currently right now I have a large amount of content in there, a bunch of ongoing series, a new one that was just added, Necromancy and Dark Witchcraft series. We have the Luciferian Magic and Self-Mastery, the Clepothic Sorcery, Esoterical Occult Bible Study class, Shadow Work class, you name it, Sith Dark Side Alchemy and Philosophy class, Ancient Egyptian Vampiric class. Again, we go very in-depth and very personal, detailed. It's not just classes with talking. There's also ritual work involved in these classes if you sign up for them. Group exercises, sometimes we do right there virtually together. So it's a different experience. It's not just watching a YouTube video and listening to me talk. It's more, we study as a group. It's like a study. It's just more personalized, more in depth. So check that out. Patreon.com/Baniti, Baniti. Tier 3, that gives you access to the 3 private classes I do every month on Patreon for Patreon members only. All right. Also, if you're interested in signing up for the 6th annual Journey of the Black Adept Conference, that is in full effect. You can do that now. That conference will take place October 19th to the 22nd, which is just a couple of weeks away right here in Hollywood, Florida, in Fort Lauderdale. It'll be, classes, presentations, workshops, speakers, more on-hands ritual this year. We're finishing up and finalizing the itinerary. We're going to have a little less speakers. We just cut 1 or 2 out, and we've added more ritual work, more exercise. This year we want to focus on more hands-on ritual and spiritual practices on this path. There'll be a drumming healing ceremony as one of the not a ceremony, let me rephrase it, more of a group type of thing for one of the slots during the day on Friday and Saturday. We're going to open the conference up with a ritual, which that'll be the first time opening it with it. And then we will still have the group rituals on Friday and Saturday night, followed by a group dinner, some hanging out, some socializing, and all that good shit, right? You could also attend virtually. Shoot me an email, khnum19@gmail.com. Again, it's in Cultural Expressions in Hollywood, Florida is the venue. Close minutes from the Hollywood Fort Lauderdale International Airport. Minutes from hotels, Airbnbs, and the airport is literally, short distance and minutes away from the venue. So, as I said, past years, people Uber it. Some people don't even rent a car. It's that close. But that's on you. If you need information, shoot me an email. I'll send you info on how to sign up and register for that. Also, if you're interested in a spiritual reading or a consultation, I offer various different readings: Clepothic demonic readings, Santa Muerte readings, Egyptian oracle readings, shadow work readings, which is always a great thing to do at any given point in time, deity readings to see what spirits, demons, gods, and goddesses walk with you. Shoot me an email. I will send you a full list of readings that I offer, and I will send you how to sign up, how to register, or book a reading, okay? Also, don't forget to check out the Primordial Chaos podcast, where all this content is also being uploaded. If you want to now listen to some of this stuff in audio version while you're just chilling around the house, driving, exercising, walking in the park, you can now also listen to this information in audio format. The podcast is available on Spotify and all major podcast platforms, okay? The direct link to the podcast, along with also check us out on our social media pages, Primordial Chaos 9, all one word, on Instagram, Primordial Chaos, 2 words, on Facebook, the link to the social media sites, the link to the podcast, my contact email address, and the direct link to the Primordial Chaos Patreon page to sign up for classes. All of that is in the description box of this video you're currently watching right now. All right, so let's talk about, again, the major thing in the news, but let's look past the bill. Let's look at the bigger picture here. We see this just a few days ago. This Palestinian-Israeli conflict has again broken out. How does this tie into prophecy? Not just biblical prophecy, because the Bible, as I said, is a very chaotic thing when you don't really know how to put it into its context. You can't take everything literal. You can't take everything allegorical and metaphorical. It's a combination of both. But there is some prophetic stuff, especially when you're reading a book like Revelations, when it talks about the quote-unquote later, I don't want to say end times, because there's no such thing as anything completely ending, right? The beginning and end thing is a construct made by man. But let's just talk about how some of the things we're seeing are obvious, okay? First and foremost, again, this will probably be, I'm not going to do too many videos on this. I don't really usually do videos on these type of things, but I just want to address this because people are asking about it and, want thoughts and opinions on it, which really doesn't mean much, but I try to use these short tutorials and videos to do things like this for that purpose, all right? So more than likely, this is the last video I will talk about or really deal with this for the most part, unless something else otherwise comes up. All right, let's look at the things that are obvious, right? Let's look at the history. As I said before, too, let me put this out there. It's always an atrocity. Regardless of where you stand, it's an atrocity for innocent men, women, and children to have to die, suffer, be kidnapped, taken hostage, tortured, killed, all for the foolishness of a bunch of fanatical, crazy motherfuckers, okay, on both sides. I'm not talking about just physically, but just the fanatical approach, okay? Regardless of your stance on it. Innocent people, but unfortunately that comes with the territory with war. And yes, though we might have United Nations sanctions and war sanctions in place for times of war, that's all bullshit. I can tell you this, the first rule of war is there's no rule. I don't care what they say, I don't care what's sanctioned by the international community, this and that. Yes, I know they have laws for war crimes, but the rule with real war is there is no rules. Okay? And that's the fucked up part. All right? When we look at the history of this conflict in Palestine and Israel, you go back to when Israel established, again, we're not going to get into a thorough history, but when they established the self-established state of Israel, you go back to 1947, you go back to the 6-Day War, you go back to the Yom Kippur War, you go back to the on and off incidents in between up until today that have taken place in that region, right? We know this even goes deeper, way further back than that, when you could trace this back to the Crusades, where the 3 major monotheistic religions, Islam, Christianity, and Judaism, have shed so much blood and killed so many people for what they believe is their right, for their faith and their religion, to these lands, these biblical holy lands. The Muslims claim that Jerusalem is there. The Al-Aqsa Mosque is their most sacred site. It's where they claim Muhammad took flight, received, went up in flight, received revelations. The Jews claim it for Solomon's temple. The Christians claim it because they believe they are the successors. I'm talking about when you go back to the Crusades. If you know the history of the Crusades, when it was involving at that time the papacy, the Vatican, and the Catholic Church, you had Saladin and the Muslims during them times. They were laying stake and claim, and then of course the Jews at that time. Okay, so this conflict has been going on for a long time. When Israel, what we know is Israel today, established itself as a self-established state of Israel, this just escalated things further because it created more issues with the people in the Gaza Strip and the Palestine or the Palestinian region. We know the history of Hamas. I want to get Hamas group. We know PLO, the Palestinian Liberation Army, and all that. I don't want to get into that. But what I do want to get into is the greater picture. Okay, so people have asked me, and I usually don't entertain this stuff, but since it's come up in an email, we're critical thinkers. We don't get wrapped in emotionally, and we look at the bigger picture. Okay? Now, when I say prophecy, I don't want you to automatically your mind to wander to biblical prophecy. We've seen this coming over a long period of time. It's easy to prophesize this because it's pretty been obvious and laid out for years. You got to back up to Russia and Putin, the Ukrainian conflict that broke out over a year ago. Okay? This really, what I'm saying is all the positioning and has the makings of molding a World War III conflict. Okay, why do I say that? For the obvious. You got to look at the sides. Immediately if something goes down with the United Nations and how these countries are aligned, United States and Great Britain immediately align with Israel regardless of what happens. Now, look at the bigger picture. That's just fact. Anything that breaks out, UK and the United States is siding with Israel. And it's obvious. They've pretty much have said that in so many words. And that's how it's been in the past, even during the Gulf War. Now, the problem is, as we see what has transpired in a year plus over in the Ukraine, between Ukraine and Russia, we see Putin is trying to align himself with a lot of the Asian countries, China, mainly China, Korea. He's over there shaking hands. China's been trying to suppress us as the greatest economy. And again, I don't want to even go back to my thoughts on the whole COVID thing, which I believe was biological warfare. That's a whole another story, but I don't want to get into all that here. But China's been, trying to place themselves as the greatest economy and supersede the United States. Putin also is trying to get friendly with, as we know, North Korea has a serious distaste for many of the countries that we're aligned with. And then don't forget Russia's alignment with some of the Arab countries like Syria, okay? Who we know the history with that not too long ago with a lot of the chemical and biological attacks that took place in Syria, that it was known that Russia had its hands in providing, quote unquote, a lot of those weapons and things of that nature. So here you got Russia, China, North Korea, and the Arab world and a lot of the Arab countries on one side. And then you have the United States, the UK, and many other European countries aligned on this side. So you can kind of see where this is trying to go. And you can see who the chess players in this whole thing. And the crazy thing is Putin's probably sitting back right now with this conflict popping off, smiling, because it's shaping up to what he wants. Because the United States has already made it clear, and Israel has made it clear, if any Arab country uses this as an opportunity to get involved or attack for any of their personal benefit, it's gonna set things off. There's also information and intelligence out there that Iran had something to do with coordinating these surprise attacks on Israel. Okay? So obviously this was something planned. Some of the information circulating that's been planned since early August. And obviously the questionable thing to me is here, how can a country like Israel with superior defensive technology be attacked in such a very simplistic way? I mean, there was video footage of Hamas soldiers dropping in on parachutes. Right? I mean, it wasn't even like we're not talking about a high tech, like some shit you couldn't see was coming. We're talking about a bombardment of rockets and missiles that their defense that is superior to shooting them down. How did nobody see this shit coming? How was this done so easily? It makes you wonder. Now look, I'm just putting something out there. You make the decision. It's almost like if somebody is pulling the strings to all of this going on. Now, some of this prophecy can be tied up when you do look in the book of Revelations. There's a lot of symbolicism in there, right? It talks about the dragon not wanting to bow down to the eagle. And this is why I say China is a key player in this game. And really, the dragon represents a lot of these Asian countries. Two of those aspects of the dragon that refuses to bow down to the eagle, which is symbolic of our country, America, right? Is you could tie Korea into that picture, North Korea. You could tie China into that picture. Okay, and Russia is kind of behind the scenes pulling the strings of all this very, very smoothly. Now ask yourself also this. How could a superpower, this is the thing that just doesn't add up. How could a superpower like Russia be struggling to overtake a small country like the Ukraine? With all the manpower they got, with all the weapons they got, here we are today, and that stuff is still going on. Russia's got their Vietnam, like this country had. They misinterpreted what was going on there, but there's an even bigger agenda there. Okay? If you look at that on paper, Russia should have been able to take control on top of that in a very short period of time. They didn't for a reason. I'll let you think about that. Okay? It's the same thing why these conflicts have been going on in the Arab world, because you have insurgents from all other countries. So that come in and coordinate and participate in these attacks. So when you look at, for an example, when you look at a conflict like this that breaks out, it's a cause to some of these countries. So you're getting fighters that are coming from different countries in the Arab world. Okay? And you're seeing this all be fulfilled and carried out through simplistic attacks like this. I mean, look, unless there's something I don't know, or there's something I'm not seeing, I just can't see a superior defense system that Israel has. How you didn't know a barrage and couldn't stop. It's just mind-boggling to me. And again, we can't lose sight. The fucked up part about it is you have innocent civilians, men, women, and children dying. But my point is, this got all the makings of the powers that be positioning themselves to ignite the Third World War conflict. That's what it's looking like. Okay? Because again, we're a hairline of this popping off. We're a very, very thin cross line of this getting ready to pop off. Because all it's going to take is the wrong country to get involved. Because if anybody does anything, obviously right now after this, to Israel, and then you have the UK, the United States, or any other European nation step in, that's the green light. Okay? And now you've got a serious situation with hostages, where Israel's pretty much saying that's not going to stop them from attacking. So I don't know how you want to take that. But the sad thing, here's the sad thing. all that's at the root of this is these evil, wicked religions that are behind this. And again, I just want to make it clear. I'm not talking about, look, there are many, many practitioners in the world of Islam, Christianity, and Judaism, though I don't agree with the faith or belief system, but there's many good practicing Muslim, Christians, and Jews. And again, as I said before, I have many friends over the years that belong to them faiths. So I'm not talking about those practitioners. I'm talking about the ones that are fanatical and interpret their religion as such. Now, yes, I got my disagreements with it, with the concepts of it, and I'm clear on that. And I've never changed my position on that, and neither will I. But when you have fanatics, fundamentals, and people that are hiding behind this with their own political agenda, and then you have innocent men, women, and children being killed and sacrifices, which I get it. Unfortunately, that's part of war. Who the fuck would want to lay claim to any of these belief systems? Because if I'm looking at it again as a whole, this biblical and Quranic God is the biggest terrorist that exists. Because he allows this shit. Okay? Their biblical and Quranic God allows innocent men, women, and children to be slaughtered. Okay? And it just goes to further prove that religion breeds a certain level of ignorance, hate, violence, death, and destruction. Okay? And you witnessed it, not just with this unfortunate event that's going on right now. We've seen this in the past, whether it was Saddam Hussein in Iraq, the Persian Gulf War, 9/11. And the thing that's messed up about it is religion that has now spread its poison even into African countries where Islam has colonized places like Nigeria and other parts of Africa where there's civil unrest. We're talking about civil internal wars. As I said before, you go to Liberia, there's parts of Liberia that are more fanatically Christianized and infiltrated and colonized by Islam than you see these fanatics in other places and even over here in America. Okay? This is real. Okay? When a religion colonizes people and then separates them and turns them on each other to the point where there's civil war, civil unrest, and people shedding blood and killing each other, that can't be classified as a peaceful belief system, as a peaceful way of life, right? Islam, they translate, they're full of shit. The word Muslim does not mean to submit, okay? Go look at the root words in Arabic. They'll tell you Muslim means one who submits. That's not what it means. Mu, salam, one of peace. The word mu in Arabic is one, salam is peace. The word Muslim is translated as one of peace. Jesus even said in the book of Matthew, blessed are the peacemakers, right? The Muslims, the Muslim, right? For they shall inherit the earth. When you look at this situation and people that have that fundamentalist, fanatical mindset of Islam, there's nothing peaceful about it, people. There's nothing peaceful about this shit. You show me one thing that's peaceful about this shit. Nothing. Okay? All it's doing is breeding hate, separation, death, destruction, and taking innocent lives. Okay? That's the reality. I know this may not what some people want to hear, but I'm not going to sit here and dumb it down. If you want my thoughts and you're going to email me my thoughts, and again, I try not to entertain too much of this political talk, religious talk. Once in a while, I'll change it and flip the script, but I'm not going to focus on this long. Because at the end of the day, despite all of this that's going on, it doesn't change what you need to be doing. It doesn't change your spiritual path. It doesn't change the work that you need to be doing. See, part of the process is creating those distractions to keep you all jacked up in the head. Okay, that's the problem. To keep you all living in fear and anxiety and being afraid, this, that, and the other. So this is why I don't speak on a lot of these things a lot of times, because people will always email me anytime something pops off in the news that, you know, whether it's the death of somebody or some tragedy. If you get too wrapped up in it, I'm trying to put it into context for you and just put it into its perspective and move on. Because what happens is sometimes people get caught up in all this stuff and it creates a huge distraction. A huge distraction. And it creates fear. And that's the goal and that's the purpose. Now, a lot of these things pop off because it's a distraction for something bigger and greater they're getting ready to do. Remember, we're critical thinkers. Don't look at just what you're seeing going on the surface. Pay attention to what's going on beneath it, around it, and what it looks like they're trying to bring down the pipe. Okay, I keep telling you guys that. They want you to react in the moment because that's the distraction. So while you focused on that, stressed out, fearing this, that, and the other, they got some bigger shit planned that you're not ready for. Okay? They did that during the pandemic if you paid attention. Okay? But if you're a critical thinker, you're locked into your path, you're in tune with what's going on, you know how to navigate through this stuff. You know how to move. And that's your goal. That's what your job is. Your responsibility is what? To be in complete control of your immediate surroundings and environment. Okay? Now, you need to understand what that is and how to apply that, and then things would be a lot clearer and simpler for you. That's the reality. But this is what we're dealing with, people. Okay? I said, going back, if you look at some of the videos I did around 2014, 13, etc., I told you we're getting ready to enter the pandemic. What we got going, we're entering a new era. The world, we're not living in the same world we used to live in. You're living in a whole new era, whether you're conscious of it or not, whether you can see it or not. This is a very different world than what it was just 4 or 5 years ago. If you can't see, sense, and feel that, then something's wrong with you. I was saying back in 2020, going into 2021, the world as we know it will never be the same. Okay? And it's never going to be the same. It doesn't mean it can't be better, it can't be worse. It means it's what you're going to make of it. It's going to determine if it's better or worse. So I'm not saying that to preach gloom and doom, but if you absorb it like that and you feed into it like that, it will be gloom and doom. Okay? But there is a great change upon us, and we are living in it. I told you, the end of a cycle, the end of an equinox, 2 full cycles, an epoch has come to a conclusion. Nature is changing, the world is changing, the planet is changing, and we're all changing on the inside, for good or bad. Those who are not in alignment and connected with these spiritual and emotional and all these different changes that are occurring, they're going to be sacrificial lambs. There's casualties of war, unfortunately. Okay? And we're seeing this all play out. So this is how we need to absorb this and put this into perspective, okay? We're seeing these prophecies that were easy to see over the last 30, 40, 50 years or more unfolding right in front of us. This is what's going on. You're seeing it. It's happening. Okay? So hopefully this helps put this into context, and hopefully this gives you a clearer picture. It doesn't change anything we need to do, people. Stay on your path. Keep doing your work. Focus on what it is you got to do. And if you feel like change needs to be sent out into the ethers, then do that in your work if that's where your focus is. That's the best thing I can tell you. You can only control what you can control that's directly connected to you. All right? Hopefully this helps. I'm going to wrap this video up here. Again, I don't want to go on a tangent about this. That's going to wrap it up for this video here. If you need to reach out to me, KHNUM19@gmail.com. If you need information on how to book a spiritual reading, a spiritual consultation, if you need information on how to sign up and register for the 6th annual Journey of the Black Adept Conference, shoot me an email there. Also keep in mind, the direct link to the Primordial Chaos podcast is in the description box of this video. Also, links to the social media sites on Instagram and Facebook. The direct link to the Primordial Chaos Patreon page to sign up for classes. Again, my contact email. All of those links are in the description box of this video that you're watching right here. All right? All I can say is stay up, people. Stay strong. Stay firm on your square. Stay solid in your spiritual practice. Do what you need to do. Don't let anything take you off of that path. All right? Infernal blessings. We out.